Hey everybody, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and I've got a brand new video for you today. Today we're going to do a comic book haul video from a recent comic book show that I went to. Can't believe that these books have actually been sitting here for probably over a month, and normally what I do is once I pick up books, I like to show you guys what I'm getting, and at that point I can turn around and get them into the shop and start working on the cleaning and pressing if I feel like they're candidates to be sent to CGC. And it's been a really busy last month, 2 months really, getting ready to go down to Heroes Con in Charlotte. In fact, this little show happened before that. So these books have been sitting there for probably about 2 months now, ready to go. They are really good books, and I can't believe they've been sitting here. In fact, I don't even remember what's in the box. This is going to be kind of fun. This is going to be a real unboxing because I haven't looked at these books in a while, but I know me. I know that I pick up really good books, books that I want to clean and press, books I want to speculate on a little bit, books that I want to send in to CGC. So, hey, let's just dive into this and see what we've got. All right. Oh yeah, I remember this now. Okay, so definitely I went to the show. I didn't think I was going to end up buying a lot. I ended up finding basically some middle range keys for the most part. Maybe some smaller keys that I kind of wanted to get into the PC, and ended up doing a pretty good box here. It's probably about 20 some books at least. Some really good things here, but let's just go through it and I'll show you what I've got. So I was already done, and I made one lap around the room, and there was a dealer that I hadn't looked at, so I went over and took a look at his books, and he had some really good prices on these books. And these are books that I had just got back from CGC, really dissatisfied with the 9.4s that I got. I felt like they were at least 9.6s, if not even better. But I'm glad I picked these up before I got that box back, because I knew that was my only copies that I had sent in. So I knew I wanted to definitely try to get some more to try to get good grades no matter what. But I ended up finding from this one dealer, so he had both of these books, but I only bought one of this. This is Spectacular Spider-Man 131, part of Kraven's Last Hunt. Now, he had several of these. This was the best of the other ones had little spine ticks that I didn't want to deal with. And the other one I picked up was 132, and I ended up with 4 copies of that one. And all of these look really good. So all of these are going to be pressable candidates. I'm trying to get a solid 9.8 out of the 6 issues of Kraven's Last Hunt. I'm about halfway there. Yeah, about halfway there. And if I was going for 9.6s, I'd be a little bit better off. But I ended up with 9.4s on both of these Spectacular Spider-Mans, and I wasn't happy with either one of those. So I'm happy to have these to be able to do one more chance, one more try at these. And from that same dealer, I'm going to say, actually, I can't even tell because a lot of them put their books in Mylar. These are definitely some Mylar bags that he had. I did pick up another issue of 166. This is the first appearance of Lockheed the Dragon, although technically wasn't he on the cover of, was it 152, 153? But this is his first issue, and I just got this back too from CGC. I got a 9.6 on it. I was happy with it. There was a defect around the spine up here. It's a thicker book, and this one looked really super clean, so I'm going to be jonesing to get another one of these, another shot at that, try to get a 9.8 on that. That's a nice newsstand copy there. Now, you guys know that I cannot go to a comic show without picking up at least one of these next 2 issues. Usually the second issue in the storyline, or the second in these 2 books. But I picked up another copy of X-Men 212 and 213. And I'm a sucker for these. I keep buying these. I want my 9.8s on this. I think I've got my 9.6 on my 213. I don't think I've got anything better than 9.4 on this issue right here. It's really hard with that black cover, but both of these look super clean on the spines. So I'm looking forward to getting these back into the press. All I need is another copy of 213 and 212. All right, guys? You've got Barry Windsor Smith artwork. You've got Alan Davis artwork. And I think this is what the first Wolverine Sabretooth fight cover. Both. All right, now this is a book that I never owned. I owned issue number 2 all the way for, I don't know, I probably collected most of them. But I never had issue number 1 of Web of Spider-Man. I just never had it. And I ended up picking this up from one of the dealers there, and looked in really nice shape. He had one that was a little bit more expensive, and he could have sworn the other one was in a better shape. And this one had some defects, and I remember this dealer, we talk a lot about the cleaning and pressing of books and everything, and even though this was not as in good a shape as the other one, I felt like this one was something I could press and maybe get up there. So we'll see how I do in this one. But it's a book I've never owned. I may have to read that real carefully first. All right, I picked up another copy of issue 34 of Silver Surfer. This is I think this is the return of Thanos at this point. Jim Starlin, I guess, was writing this. Am I wrong? I'll look it up, but if let me know if is that right. Jim Starlin was actually writing this at this point. So I got this back just recently. In fact, it may be sitting over here. No, actually, issue number 44 with Thanos is in it. But I think this is the return of Thanos, and this is a pretty semi-valuable book. I mean, as a 9.8. This looked like a really good candidate to get that. The other one I got a 9.6 one, either 9.4 or 9.6. So I'm taking a shot. That was the other one was my original copy that I had when I was buying them off the stands. This one, we'll see how we do on it. All right. So from that original one other dealer, I actually picked up 3 copies from that. And then these books right here are all mixed up. But I can tell from the back the way he marked them. I picked up 3 copies of Spider-Man 333. It is an Eric Larson early Venom cover here. And I sent in my original copy to CGC. I got that back, cleaned and pressed it myself. Got a 9.8. Wasn't a lot of defects with it, but I was super happy to have that. As a 9.8, it's got a good value, good return on investment on something like that. Even putting these in, I know I paid around that $10 mark on each one of these, and they all look super good. So knowing that and knowing what I could get, if I can get that 9.8 again, I didn't mind buying these books. So I picked up 3 copies of that. And again, from the same dealer. Like this dealer right here, he had so many really good books that I'm glad I got to him, but I wish I'd gotten to him first at the beginning of the show, because I probably missed a lot of really good books. His conditions on books were fantastic. But I picked up 2 copies of XMen 268, and in one of my last videos, I just got this back from one of my original orders from 14 months ago that's CGC had worked on. They got me a 9.6 on one of these. It's the second 9.6 I've got. I really want to get a 9.8 on 268 just for the PC, not for resale or anything. So I picked up 2 really clean copies of that. And then I picked up some. Now, all of those are kind of minor. I wouldn't even call them keys, but they got some value at 9.8s and high grades. Now, these are a little bit more. This is from another dealer, and they're actually some key books. This is the first appearance of Spider-Ham, and this is Marvel Tales featuring Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. And I had sold my raw copy of this here last year, and again, wasn't something I was actively looking at, but I went to this one dealer and he had a hodgepodge of some really cool semi-keys and everything, and I'm like, okay. I mean, his prices, I bundled some things together and put a price together, and he gave me a really good price, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I probably sold my original for what I paid for all the books that I got in this order. So, felt like this has a really good shot. All the conditions were really nice. If anything, it's going to be something that's going to be pressable. But yeah, it's nice to have that back in the collection. All right, I have picked up yet another copy of Simpsons Comics #1. You got the Fantastic Four #1 homage cover. I've got my original copy I'd sent out, and then I've bought a couple since in the last year that I've worked on. I've actually gotten 9/8 on this. I've got a 9/6 on this. This one has been a really good book to work with in terms of cleaning and pressing, and it's got a good value on that as well. So this was definitely an investment book, just to hopefully add it to the list of books that are actually for sale, because I'll keep one of them obviously, but I'll have the rest for sale at some point. And then he had an issue of 160. Now I want to say of XMen. Now this, I think, is this the first issue of Magic as an adolescent, at least. She wasn't a child any longer. She goes into limbo and then literally comes back as a teenager, and that was her technically first appearance as like that. Of course, her original appearance was in Giant Size X-Men #1. So anyway, that's yeah. I want to say I sent this in at one point, but it might have probably put it into a pre-screen and it probably was a reject, because I do not remember actually having that graded at this point. And then that same dealer had a really nice copy of Avengers 181. This is the first appearance of Scott Lang, but that doesn't do anything for me. But the fact is, you've got this beautiful George Perez cover. I mean, it's when George Perez passed, a lot of YouTube videos showed up with top 10 list of the top George Perez covers, books that he's done, and this one ended up on more than one list, I'll tell you that. But just an absolutely beautiful cover. And I've sent in multiple copies to CGC. One of them came back as a 9.0. That was a huge disappointment. In fact, I pulled that because I didn't agree with the grade. I may end up cracking that one out. Even if it's not worth it, I may crack it out anyway, because I don't know if I want to live with that 9.0 on that. But I did get a 9.6 on the most recent one that came back, and I was super excited about that. Alright, so I picked up another copy of Hail Arisen #3, Youre the Villain. This is the first full appearance of Punchline. And I've gotten this back. One of my last orders, I just got this back. I got it at 9.6. In fact, I think it literally is setting, yeah, literally setting right there as a 9.6. The first one I got back as a 9.8. This one looks super clean. I took it, we took it out of the bag, took a look at it. It looked really, really good. And that right there was, yeah. I'm looking forward. This is about the high on this. Now, I bundled some books together and got this down a little bit, but I mean, the one I just showed you, I paid a lot more for that, and the market has really dropped on Punchline. You know, I'm hoping it rebounds at some point, but I took another shot on going this, especially at this price, that maybe if I can get another 9.8, then I can possibly get maybe a nice return on investment on that. But this right there is not a super book like it was a year ago. Alright, and also from that same dealer, I picked up Critters #3. You've got an early Usagi Yojimbo appearance, but even better than that. Now, this is the one I have never owned, but I have looked at it. I came close to buying it, but the one I was looking at had rusted staples, and I didn't want to get into that. Even the book looked good, the staples were still going to be bad. But I ended up buying Albedo number 4. This is the 3rd appearance of Usagi Yojimbo and first cover appearance as well. And as I said, the one I looked at previously, it was at a used bookstore and it had rusted staples, but this one looks in really nice shape. And again, if you see the price there, don't worry about the price, because I bundled this stuff together to get the price down. And I'm super excited about this. I own issue number 3. I'll never own issue number 2. That it's skyrocketed. You can't touch it now. But this is looking really good shape. The copy of number 3 I've got ended up grading out as I want to say an 8.5. I was really disappointed with that. And again, it's in the office right now. It's one of those books. I've got a handful of these books that I just didn't agree with the grade, and are definitely going to be valuable enough to possibly crack open and resubmit again. Some of these books may end up going into a different kind of pre-screen, or a pre-screen, because I don't think that one, the original number 3, did. But yeah, we'll have 4 here. Huge Stan Sakai fan, one of my favorite creators. What a nice guy. I wish he'd make a new trip out here to the East Coast. I know that he was at San Diego this last year, just a few weeks ago, in fact. And that's awesome. I'm hoping he'll start traveling a little bit more out to the East here. We miss him. We'd love to see him back here in Baltimore. The last time I saw him was down in Charlotte a couple years ago. And yeah, my wife's a big fan of his as well. Alright, and then let's see. Now, I remember picking this up from one dealer. It's the only book I picked up from him, and it was Avengers 185. This is the beginning of the origin of the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. John Byrne artwork. Again, you've got George Perez cover here. This looked in really nice shape. I haven't submitted this to CGC as much as I have 186 and 187. But I think I got 185 back as a 9.4. I wasn't super happy with that. So when I saw this and it looked in really good shape, I didn't mind buying that. And I'm not sure where this one came from, but I picked up a copy of Daredevil 172. It's a early Kingpin Daredevil cover. Of course, Frank Miller brought Kingpin into the Daredevil storyline, and this is just, I think this the second cover with Kingpin and Daredevil, which got Bullseye right there as well. Not a super key of any sort, but if you can get a 9.8 on this, you know, you've got it. You could have a good return on investment. The spine looks super clean. I don't see any color breaks over here, so that is definitely a candidate for a high grade. And I want to say, probably from the same dealer that I got the Daredevil, I also picked up a copy of Sandman. This is Sandman number 1, Jack Kirby artwork from the mid-70s and everything. And this just looked in super nice shape. It's not a super key, it's not super valuable or anything, but this is one that it looked in such nice shape that I was like, wow, you know, if I can get this, work on this a little bit, let's take that challenge, let's see what we can do to it and see how high of a grade I can get on something like this. So yeah, it's not bad. And then the last thing I got from one of the dealers was Classic X-Men number 1. I think this is the same dealer. Let's see, I'm going to take a quick look right here. Yeah, I've lost track of what I bought from which dealer. I didn't separate them when I put in a box here, but I know I picked this book up, and oh, I know it was the Spider-Man, the Web Spider-Man number 1 that I picked up from this particular dealer, and his name's Jim Montgomery, and he's from Battlefield Comics, and what a great guy. I see him at all of the clandestine shows that I go to. I talk to him at every show, and we've gotten into we'll talk every show now about cleaning and pressing and the woes of of the pre-screens and the time that takes CGC to get things done, and just how harsh they are on certain books and everything. And it's interesting to listen to someone who submits probably a lot more than I do. I mean, he's in business for, you know, doing this. And as I said, Battlefield Comics, I wrote it, or he wrote it down here. Jim Montgomery, talk to him, tell him Rusty sent you. If you ever go to any of the clandestine shows and you see him, just say hi from me. But what a nice guy and everything. And so I ended up picking up this as well. And now this is a book that I bought it because it has the black, where it stops right here on the spine, going around the back cover, was super clean. There's no spine ticks and everything. And I'm trying to get a 9/8 on this. I think I got it, and I ended up selling it, to be honest with you. I sold it, and again, every time I sell something, I regret selling it. It's like, I want that in my collection. So there's a cycle, and I like having books in my collection, and I don't mind selling things either. But then I want to replace it, so it's very cyclical. But I picked this book up. I picked up the Web Spider-Man, and then the last book I got from Jim was a book. He ended up giving this to me, and he said, "Here, take this book." He'd been watching my videos. He'd see my successes. He hears me talk about my cleaning and pressing all the time. Now, I haven't shown you how I clean and press, but I talk about it all the time. And he's seen the books that I'm sending, and a lot of these books I'm sending are these mid-70s to mid-90s books, this Bronze Age into Copper Age books, a lot of 80s books as well. Anyway, he goes over and he grabs a copy of Kong the Untamed. It's from DC Comics in the mid-70s. This is issue number 1, and it's a really nice copy. And he said he had a lot of these. And he gives this to me, and I'm kind of like, okay. And he said he wanted me to clean and press this. And he said, no, just keep it, do whatever you want with it. But he'd be interested in seeing what I get on this, because I will end up doing the work. I'll do this and I'll submit it, and we'll see what we get. But he was really curious about what I can do to this and what kind of grade I can get, and I'm kind of excited myself. And he said, just keep the book, it's yours, you can do whatever you want with it at that point. But he just would like to see what my results would be, and I'm happy to do that, and I appreciate that. So Jim, thank you so much. I will see you at the next clandestine show. Hopefully. I ended up missing one of the local shows a couple weeks ago because I wasn't feeling well, and God, I hate missing comic shows because, you know, you want to buy comics. I don't want to be homesick. I want to go buy comics. So hopefully I'll be okay. I'm fine now, but I'm, you know, looking forward to the next clandestine show so I can see him again. In fact, I did see him at the show. They did a dollar show. Every book at the show was $1 or less, and I talked to him a little bit then and picked up a few other books. I don't have those. They're somewhere here in the house. They're going to sit for a month before I show those books to you too, I'm sure. But I wanted to show you this. I wanted to show you and just give a shout out to Jim, and yeah, good guy to talk to. So anyway, that's what I picked up at a recent clandestine show here in Maryland, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories I tell you about these books. As I say, every comic has a story. These are my stories. These are the stories about the books that I get and what they mean to me and how I got them and things like that. You have your own stories about the books that you have. Share them with me. Leave a comment. Tell me what you're picking up at the shows and everything. Every show I go to, I think I know what I'm going to get, but I turn around and I see opportunity for buying books that have really good return on investment. It could be big books or it can be small books. In this case, these are kind of medium small for the most part, but definitely the quality was fantastic, and I'm just excited about getting these into the press. In fact, it's been a few weeks since I've actually got the presses going, so I have to turn those things on and get them going again, and we'll get them in the CGC eventually. So guys, thank you for watching the video. I will see you for the next one. Take care.